We're going to be having sort of a just casual discussion for the majority of the podcast, and then we're going to be moving on to a Q&A. And so if you have any questions, just head over to the events channel, and there's a thread called Q&A questions for Giggl. You just put your questions in there, and we'll get to you at the end.
All right. Okay. So I guess we'll start now. So just for the audience to just get a mini introduction of all of you, individually, would you like to intro yourselves?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Yeah, you can.
I mean, we're all really the same role. Like we're all co-founders, we're all developers, but I'm more focused on like the real-time backends, networking stack on Giggl. And then I'll let Rob and Ollie introduce themselves.
Yeah, I'm also with Finn on the real-time stuff, networking, infrastructure, anything like portal related or APIs handled by me. So.
Yeah, I do anything business side of things. I also do a bit of mobile development with Cody.
I do mainly mobile development, and I do some design and web work as well at Giggl.
Awesome. All right. So, I mean, I guess first off, let's just go into kind of like what Giggl is, and then maybe we can chat about like how it all started and maybe how you all met each other.
Yeah, for sure. So Giggl is what we call the multiplayer browser. So essentially, it's a virtual browser that you can spin up, invite your friends. We allow you to pass control of the browser, and this can be used for a multitude of things. Primarily, it's for watching content together. So for things like YouTube, Netflix, TikTok. But we've also seen other use cases for things such as learning together or collaborative working together as well.
Cool. So basically, you go to Giggl and you like launch a portal, right? And it launches this sort of like virtual Chrome tab, and then you can they can be public and private, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Sorry, my mic just stopped working there.
No worries. All right. Yeah, I mean that's pretty interesting. It's pretty rare that I stumble across a startup like Giggl in this case, that I realize like I've just never even thought of the concept before. So props to you guys for
I mean, it's
coming
a
up with
pretty
something so
hard
original.
concept to execute either way. Like the actual concept it's pretty expensive and hard to execute it. So it's kind of a risk that we're taking, but we think we can pull it off. So
Yeah, it's also definitely like a massive learning curve as well. Like pretty much every part of our infrastructure, has like had a reiteration of it at least twice. Because like we've just been learning so much over the past like 2 years.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it makes sense. So obviously, since like Giggl is like a huge app in itself, and like you started around like 2 years ago or so now, or maybe three. How do you guys come up with the idea of building Giggl? Like, what made you think of it?
Okay, I'll let Ollie do this, but basically, the start of Hyven, if any of you know Hyven, that was what Giggl turned into basically. Because we started Hyven with like after Rabbit died, and Rabbit was a site that was kind of like Giggl, but they failed a funding round. So we decided we might as well build Rabbit again. But we had different directions. So like I wanted to do like more of a chat platform. Ollie was the one that had the original idea to do like a Rabbit styled approach. So we started Hyven, all of us, me, Rob, and Ollie, back in 2019. And Crom, yeah, who's not here. But back in 2019. So I started that. Rob and Ollie kind of, Rob was still like learning a few things. And like, I don't know, Ollie wanted to do Giggl as well. So I just kind of took the reins on Hyven. And then obviously like, since then, Ollie started Giggl himself with Rob and Crom. And I was just kind of like on the side, not doing as much. And Giggl was just like its own thing. Although like once Rob and Ollie had like the main part of Giggl built out, I decided to join in later on. Because like it was like actually a pretty good idea. It was a really fun problem to solve rather than Hyven, which was just like a chat app, you know. There's so many of them. It's not as interesting as building a whole infrastructure for multiplayer browsing. Like that's so much more interesting to me. So yeah. But Ollie, how did you come up with the idea for Giggl in the first place?
Yeah, so it's like you said, there was a platform called Rabbit back in the day, and it was a similar. It was a virtual browser, and it was primarily for consumer use, so people watching content together. I used to use it when it existed, but like Finn said, that had a funding round that ended up going through, and the company closed. So I being an avid user of the platform, that was something I missed and wanted to bring back, and it was definitely a gap in the market. So I had the idea. We were all in a Discord call, I think at like 3 a.m, and some random day, I don't even remember. I had the idea to work on something similar, and so this started out as Rob and I and our friend Crom. Um, and we started working on an MVP, and we got this done in around 2 weeks, I think. And it was a pretty minimalistic thing, and it was a bit broken, it was a bit buggy, but the premise was there. And this was great timing as well, because this was during the very start of COVID. So that was kind of another big inspiration, because that was a way bigger, the gap in the market for watching content together. Sure, that's there, but because COVID, everyone's at home, we thought this was a great opportunity to work on this. And after a few months of private beta testing with some of our friends, we came out with a public beta, I think, in August. And yeah, we've just been growing ever since then.
Yeah, that's really yeah, I understand how you kind of got the idea, since like especially like at the early stages of the pandemic, a lot of people would like find this useful, and it could be like more interactive than something like just like Zoom live sharing, and this is like more interactive too. So yeah. So going back to like you guys specifically, how do you guys meet? Like either just the founders, you guys, or like meeting all the other developers like Cody,
Yeah,
Ali.
for sure. So it's a bit of an interesting one, that one. I met Rob on Twitter about 10 years ago. We were both, I don't know if any of you know what Club Penguin is, but it used to be like this Disney-made game. It was like it was like a kids game basically, but there was a bit of a community for it on Twitter, and me and Rob were both in that community. So I met Rob there. We were both kind of interested in programming. So we kind of connected. And then for Ollie, like I met Ollie on the Mineplex TeamSpeak, and Mineplex was kind of like one of the biggest Minecraft servers at the time. And we were both developers there. So I don't know, we connected. That's how we connected. And that was in about 2014, 2015. So I've known Ollie for about 5, 6 years, and Rob for 10 years. So that's pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, I see. So it was you, Rob, Ollie, and Crom. I'm assuming that first started building Giggl together.
Yeah,
Um,
and then Crom's from Minecraft as well. Unfortunately, Crom had to like he wasn't as skilled as a developer as he is now. So he couldn't really do much at the time that we started it. So yeah, unfortunately he just like focused on school instead. But it's whatever.
yeah.
But
So
don't forget about Cody though. We met Cody. We met Cody. I think we met Cody like a year ago in the Giggl Discord. That's how I met him. I'm not sure about you guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I met Cody through Alistair originally, like through a group that I got added to. But yeah,
Yeah, we have
I don't know if we want.
Yeah.
We could go through every team member introduction, but I mean, yeah, I mean, like I met Ali through like he made like I don't even know, like a code breaking group Discord thing that I solved, which is pretty interesting, and I joined his game, and that's how I met Alistair. But yeah.
yeah, that's cool. So yeah. So I guess like I want to like go back to kind of like Giggl, and just like development of that, and just to like start off, what's Giggl currently built on top of? What's the tech stack?
Yeah, so on the back end for the real time area of it, it's Elixir, and basically it's an interesting story. So Finn built our Hyven, and when me, Finn, and Ollie had the initiative to work on Hyven, I wouldn't say that we co-founded it. I wouldn't say that me and Ollie co-founded it, because we probably wrote like 200 lines of code between us. But that's really when I got an introduction to Elixir, thanks to Finn. I understood like OTP and things like that. And then I didn't end up writing a line of Elixir until I started Giggl. in April 2020. So yeah, ever since then we've been building on Elixir. Like we've had like reiterations of infrastructure. And Finn can talk more about the networking stack. He like that's kind of his area. So Rust and things like that. We have our Heiko proxy.
Yep.
And we also have like plain TCP. We have like one of the things we did, for example, it's interesting, and it's open source on our GitHub if you go to it. One of the projects that our developer like Liz3 has been working on, Yan, he's been working on this socket that before we used to use WebSockets for when you control a portal, for example, with the mouse, that's all done over WebSocket. So one of the things Yan did is we completely removed the idea of WebSockets and stripped it down to one TCP socket, plain TCP, completely, UTF-8, low-level stuff, to minimize latency. So over the last like year and a half, the main challenge has been minimizing latency. And that's kind of Finn's area as well. He helps a lot in that. So
Yeah, I mean, like the main premise of Giggl, because of how like low latency and real time it needs to be, like the main thing we focus on is trying to get it as low latency and as resilient as possible. Like, and those are really hard things to do, especially because we're going over the public internet. The internet is such like it's not perfect at all. There's so many hurdles in the way, like whether it be like a split fiber connection, your ISP having issues, your ISP's connection to us having issues, to our like providers. There's so many things that can go wrong. So we're innovating a lot in like the networking space as well. So for example, we're like putting different points of presence in different states in the US. So we're going to put routers in different states so we can capture your connection before it hits like one of the big tier 1 ISPs. So if you try to connect to Giggl, it should try to connect to your state's point of presence for Giggl first before connecting to, and then we can use that to directly connect you to our data center instead of going over the public internet for the whole way, which can cause loads of issues because we don't control it, we don't know what's going on. There's so many things, there's so many different pieces of internet infrastructure that can just like mess up the connection, introduce latency that we just don't want at all. So we're like completely controlling the entire wave from your connection to Giggl. That's what we're kind of trying to do, and it's pretty interesting, but it's hard.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot going on behind the scenes. Yeah. So, well, I want to talk about a bit about Giggl moderation because obviously you have all of these portals and like with that, like there's a lot that can happen. So how do you handle moderation? And yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
I actually
What do
just
you
want to
think?
interject really quickly. Is there any difference between public portal moderation and private portal moderation?
Okay, Cody?
Okay, so I'll gladly take over this question. So my first job at Giggl was actually for support, and I still do support right now. So we do take moderation into account on Giggl. And to answer Ari's questions first, we do have different rules for private and public portals. So for public portals, it's we allow some NSFW, but it cannot be extreme NSFW if that makes sense. So like it can be like soft core NSFW pretty much and like light gore. Like PG-13 some rated R movies, right? For
Okay.
private portals, we do not necessarily take action on hardcore NSFW portals that are private, of course. But if your portal is public and you are like playing hardcore NSFW content, we will take action on your portal. And for moderation, like in general, we are building a moderation team. We have a new person, Savannah, joining our support team, and she's quite new. She joined, I think, like a week ago, right, Ollie?
Yeah, around then.
Yeah. So we're slowly building up our support team to support and guide our users to a more friendly ecosystem in our platform. And yeah, so I'm also working on tools for portal owners and just in general moderation to help. How do I put this? Like keep a nice barrier between private and public portals when it comes to like bad and good content. Obviously, some things do slip through, but that's to be expected.
Right.
And we're building up things to help reduce those cracks. So
Yeah. I also just wanted to say, because of if Giggl scales to like a massive scale, then just hiring moderators isn't really that scalable of a thing to do. So we are building out our own like AI systems to moderate for us. For example, we have Hive AI, which is like a moderation framework, which we use to moderate NSFW portals. So every 2 minutes we capture the thumbnail, and if it detects NSFW, then it will flag it and make the portal private. And then we also have link monitoring. So we have a list of links that we like know are NSFW, possibly NSFW. So those are more like those gain more points on our moderation system. Yeah, in the future we'll look into expanding our AI models like a lot more. It's just not really an issue right now because of our scale. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's awesome. You literally answered my next question. Okay, well, it's good to see that you guys are taking moderation pretty seriously, and you're going about it in a smart way because as you mentioned, individually hiring moderators can be pretty rough. And I guess that takes me on to my next question, which is sort of like the financial side of things, because obviously you mentioned that the kind of technologies that you're having to use to keep Giggl up and running, along with staff teams and stuff, it can get expensive, and that the startup that was doing something similar to you guys who failed before you failed to complete a funding round. So how did the money thing kind of fall into the picture at the start before you guys raised?
Yeah.
And how did that all transpire?
I mean, we always knew it was going to be expensive to do. Like initially we ran off my Google Cloud credits that I had from Hyven. Like the entire Giggl infrastructure ran off that. Obviously that wasn't scalable, but once we got the 100K angel check, like which was like from our incubator or accelerator, we decided to move our infrastructure to a more like cost efficient host. But we know that this like long term this is like a really big thing for us. So we're investing in things like GPU servers, our own transcoding and encoding engine for video, and a lot more just to get the cost down because we know it's a big thing. But at the same time, like we need to make the experience good too. So we do need to like lose money at the start for the future, so we can optimize it in the future rather than diminishing the experience now, if you know what I mean. So yeah,
Right.
it's a hard thing to do, but we're getting there.
Cool. Yeah. And so you guys recently announced that you raised $2.2 million for your pre-seed round. Is that correct?
Yep. Correct.
That's crazy. So you guys were talking about how you all met, and it seems like a pretty remote team. You guys met on Discord in some cases, which is awesome to see. How did you go about starting your fundraising, and was it really a team effort? Did a few of you kind of meet up and do it physically? How did that go?
Yeah, so I remember it was a really long process, or at least it felt really long. We had we had a former co-founder on the team. His name was Tony. He left Giggl for completely unrelated reasons. But he was kind of the guy in charge of fundraising. And I remember that originally we had applied to Y Combinator, and we had an interview with Y Combinator, and it didn't go very well.
Uh-oh.
But
That was
I
their
mean,
fault though. In my
yeah.
opinion, it was the YC interviewer's fault. Like they just asked stupid questions like why are you still in school? Why are you gonna drop out? Like they took the entire 5-10 minutes of like asking just stupid questions. So like I think that was long term, I think it was good that we didn't get into YC because otherwise we wouldn't have got into Jason's accelerator, but that's another thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ollie.
So after that, Finn saw a tweet from Jason Calacanis saying, if you're a YC reject, email me with the subject, I'm a YC reject. And we did that. And we had a couple meetings with the guys from Launch Accelerator. And we ended up getting into Launch. which we were super
Wow.
happy about. And because of that, we raised 100K as an initial check from them. So that was when we kind of started to, like Finn said, spend that money on servers and things like that. And through the launch process, because like it's an accelerator, we ended up raising $2.1 million. And from our investors that we met through that. And yeah, no, it was a tedious process. I don't know even how many investors that we spoke to, probably like
More than 200, I'd say.
yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of
definitely.
people.
Although just remember that like they weren't individual meetings, they were like big they were like stages
Yeah.
basically where Tony would like basically present Giggl and our pitch deck and stuff, and they could ask questions. So it was kind of like this, but yeah, it
I
was
think
over the
Cool.
course of like 6 weeks.
Yeah, I think Presh is actually in this Discord server. He's one of the people who like scouted us initially.
Oh yeah,
Or
Crush is
like
amazing.
we had a yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
no,
I think we actually spoke with Presh like last week or something. That's cool.
Oh shit. Yeah.
Yeah. I was
oh.
just gonna say, before Giggl, and Haven, I guess too. Did you guys ever have a startup that was funded, or just like generally a startup?
Not funded, but like we'd work on small stupid side projects, stuff like that. Like me and Rob, we like I like owned a Minecraft server back in the day. That was kind of a thing that like earned me money while I was in school. I owned two, like one was called one was called Hivecraft and one was called Frosted MC. And Rob was an admin on one of them, I think. But yeah, basically
Yeah.
that kind of earned me money while I was in school, and it kind of got me into like entrepreneurship and stuff. And also taught me how to
Yeah.
code a lot more because like I kind of used Minecraft as a vehicle to learn how to code. I think Rob did too. So
Yeah, definitely. That's Java was the first thing that well, it was basically like the first OOP language I learned. So before that, in like 2012, 2011, when me and Finn met on Twitter, it was just PHP, HTML, CSS.
Yeah.
And I like basically JS was nowhere as near as popular as it is now, obviously, and there
Yeah.
wasn't that many learning resources. So yeah, Java was my thing back then, and then JS and Elixir. So
Cool. And so I'm sorry, can you guys remind me how old you all are?
I'm 20. Rob is 19,
19.
and Ollie is 18.
Jeez. Okay, so very
And I'm
young
16.
team.
Cody's 16. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so in my brain, when you put 2.1 million bucks, and then with a bunch of very very young people, that seems crazy. So how did you guys manage that? Because it sounds like it was the first time that you really have come into this kind of money.
I mean, like it was we kind of expected to raise just because of like the market on Twitter and stuff. And we weren't stupid with it. Like we had our projections done before we raised. We knew what we were gonna spend it on for the most part. But I kind of like I think investors kind of liked the fact that we were young. Like it's kind of like Mark Zuckerberg vibes, as Jason put it.
Right.
So I mean, we weren't stupid. We kind of knew we were going to raise, and we knew how we'd spend it. So I mean, it wasn't like a huge surprise to us, but it was definitely cool. Like once we raised the money, once it was in the bank, we decided to instantly look at properties to live together. So yeah, me, Ollie, and Rob currently live in like a 4-bedroom flat in London, penthouse thing.
Okay.
So yeah, it was definitely fun to raise, and we've spent the money well. We have like half of it remaining, and we also plan to do another seed extension. So yeah.
That's incredible. So you were able to use your age as an asset, which is great.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And so now you said that you have a flat in London.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So starting out as a remote startup, you decided that was something that was a priority.
Yeah, we did. I mean, like it was like kind of the first time that we all moved out, like of our parents' house, obviously. Like we kind of had like a mini office in London before that, and it was really cool. Like it's like a really mini flat in around the Primrose Hill area, if anyone knows London. And it was really fun to work there with Ollie and Tony. Back then though, Rob was still in Ireland. So like when we got this flat in London for Giggl, Rob moved, like he completely moved from Ireland, moved country to the UK basically, which was big for him, like being 17 at the time. So yeah,
Wow.
definitely.
And have you guys noticed a difference in like how quickly you get work done and stuff since you started working in the same space?
To be honest, probably not. Like at the start, yeah, but I mean, it's kind of like the same as it was before now. Like we even have like pretty long gaps between like not working as well, and I think that's pretty normal in startups. But yeah, like for example, during the Christmas break, like we pretty much didn't code for the whole month, which is
Wow.
kind of a sin in startups, but we kind of needed the break to recharge and like get our motivation back to work on Giggl. I think, and I also think that's fine to do. Like I think people like kind of overhype hustle culture a lot, and I think like taking long breaks is probably a good thing because it lets you like kind of recharge and get your like find your motivation in what you're working on. And yeah, hustle culture can like definitely overstimulate you a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a very common thing that happens when these startups move into office spaces or in your case an apartment. It's very easy to kind of like completely lose that healthy work-life balance.
Yeah,
So it's good
yeah.
that you prioritize that.
Yeah, well, it's also like initially when it was just us four, it was like I actually did notice like like an increase in productivity, of course, like a significant increase. But as we expanded our team and we became more remote with developers, we've had to do pretty much like virtually all communication inside our team Discord. Because obviously we don't want to be talking in real life and then isolating the rest of the team, and that would just
Yeah.
result in like a massive communication issue. So
Yeah,
For sure.
so like we'd literally
Yeah.
be next to each other, me and Rob. We're literally next to each other in the main room.
yeah,
Like in the office space, and we're talking on Discord. Like we're not even talking in person. Like we're literally
Yeah,
talking in
yeah.
the developers chat in Discord, so people can see what we're talking about. But yeah, like we kind of have to do it so the team's like in the loop. But yeah,
yeah, exactly.
For sure, for sure. Barricade, you there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to just say this earlier, but I forgot to mention it. So earlier this year, like couple of months ago, actually, when Cody actually started as support, I'm pretty sure. And then recently joined as a developer at Giggl. So how did that happen?
Yeah, I'll take that. So Cody, I was aware of his history before that he has done some Android development and the mobile side of things. So like our mobile app was at the time just me, so I was just doing that, and I needed some help with it, especially for the Android side of things because I don't own an Android. I don't really like Android personally, but that's a preference. Um, so I brought Cody on board to assist with that, and he's been working on the mobile app ever since.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's I know he's been working a lot on Giggl too recently, so I guess it works
yeah,
out really well. But yeah, um, well, I want to go back to what I said earlier about past projects. You all individually, um, well, your own programming journeys. How did that begin? How did you guys get into programming? Like what languages did you first start off with? And I know Rob touched on this a bit, but all of you separately. I was just curious to ask that.
yeah. Okay, for sure. I mean, I've always been interested in like electronics and stuff. Like ever since I was a kid, I was always like I kind of like took apart like our vacuum cleaner at home when I was like 5 and stuff like that. But I like I think around 8 I was really into like I don't know like really like retro games on my parents' computer. This was back in like 2009, just remember, so it was a long time ago. And so that kind of got me into computers. And then when Club Penguin came out and I kind of joined the community on Twitter, like that's when I really saw that there was like, cool stuff to work on, different languages, different projects. Then I made my own like Club Penguin website when I was like 10, I think. And
Wow.
it was just like a stupid blog, but that's when I learned like how to style with CSS and HTML. And then after that, I like learned PHP to like make up my own like I think Club Penguin celebrity tracker bot thing when I was like 11. And then after that, I kind of got back into like Minecraft and stuff. And that's kind of like that taught me real OOP. Because obviously with Java and everything, I learned Bucket, Spigot. That really got me into coding, and I loved it a lot. Making my own Minecraft plugins and stuff. And then after that, like I just worked on side projects until Hyven and Giggl, which is where which is now I'm learning so much more than I learned ever before. So yeah, it's been amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool. So since you said earlier that all of you actually met on Discord, how and now you're all living together. I guess this is kind of a question for everybody. How did you all convince your parents to let you move in together? Since like, yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least with me and Finn, I've known Finn in real life for like a few years now. So like my parents were already aware of who he was.
Yeah.
I don't know about Rob though.
Yeah. So like Finn and I, they weren't in school at the time, but I literally just like graduated. So like 2 days after I graduated, I moved to London. Like the time was just
Yeah.
right. So there was no need to like. Yeah, I didn't really have a hard time just convincing my parents. And as well as that, like they just knew.
Everything just happened like really fucking quickly. Like we literally got the
Yeah.
check-in next week, like less than 7 days after we got like the first check-in, the 800k from Croft. We got the place, we signed the lease, and we moved in. Like so, there wasn't really time for our parents to really think about it, which sounds really
Yeah.
bad, but I don't know. My mom does miss me, and like I do go back. Like I'm very close to my parents. Like I'm only like 10 minutes away, so it's not that bad. But I know for Rob, like he's literally a whole country away, so it must be different. Yeah.
Yeah, but I
All,
still go back at like once every 2 months, so it's fine.
did you guys move in after you raced for Giggle or before?
Just after. So like
Oh,
once we got the 800k from Croft, we moved in.
oh, I see. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. Earlier I forgot to ask Ollie and Cody how they started coding. I forgot about the rest, but yeah, if you guys want to enter that.
Yeah. Mine was Minecraft. It was 2012, and I really wanted to make a Minecraft plugin. And so I started out with Java initially, and I did Minecraft for like a few years. Like Finn said earlier, I was a developer for a server called Mineplex a few years on, and that was an experience, to say the least. I'm not going to go into that because I ended up. This is a little tiny story, but I ended up leaking all of their source code because they fired me, and I was 11 years old, and I was angry. So
Yeah.
that was funny, but it wasn't funny. But yeah, no, Minecraft, and then I kind of took a break, and then I got back into. I wanted to make a Discord bot, so I learned JavaScript, and then I got into the sneaker community, kind of. So I used to work for they're called cook groups, and they're like I don't really know how to explain it, but they're silly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let Cody.
Yeah, me and Ollie actually ended up building out like desktop applications with these cook groups before we started Giggl.
Oh yeah,
so-
that was kind of like that was during Giggl as well. Like both Ollie and Rob were working for this group
yeah.
to like earn money while doing Giggl.
Yeah.
So,
Because like pretty much Giggl was, besides like the egress costs or like hosting it on GCP with Finn's credits, pretty much like it was all self-funded. So up till the point where we got Jason's check. So yeah,
Oh, yeah, I see.
that was
How
the
did
first
you
time
get?
we came out together.
Oh, yeah. How did you get first involved with the sneaker community?
That's a great question.
Finn can talk about that.
oh yeah. Okay. I mean, it's like worlds have collided a lot. Like it's so interesting to see how like network connections happen. But I mean, I have a friend from school, which I kind of got into like coding on Twitter called Liam. And like like since he got into Twitter and stuff, like he like was a big part of the sneaker community. Like he learned to code. He was really interested in like making bots for like to stream and stuff. It wasn't really my thing, but like he learned quickly, like really quickly. And he like kind of made a name for himself in the community. So like that, and then like since then, like Liam connected with like my other online friends like separately. So like Liam connected with Alistair and stuff through Twitter, and like that's like completely separate to like how I met Alistair. But it's like I still got Liam into Twitter, you know. So like it's so funny to see how like the network connects itself together. Because like I did like meet these people individually, and then they met my other friends, and like, you know, it's so cool. But yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I know a lot of the people that work on Giggl now have either heavily or semi been involved with the sneaker community. But yeah. Okay. So how about you, Cody? How did you kind of get started into like the programming world?
Okay, so likewise, like Phineas, I took apart my mom's school laptop. It was like a 2012 MacBook Pro. And I put it back together. She was really mad at me, but this was kind of like my gateway into like technology as a whole. Um, and after I started like looking into hardware, I started learning about the hardware, and I started like becoming interested in like building computers and stuff. And so when I started getting into hardware, I also like shifted towards software. And like everyone else here, I started with Minecraft as well. I just built Minecraft servers and tried marketing them. Probably not as popular as Phineas's server or Ollie's Mineplex, but I was quite proud of my creations. So I started with Minecraft, and that's how I kind of gatewayed myself into broader software. And after I started Minecraft, I wanted to create a weather app called Sincere. That didn't really turn out well, and I actually still have the code. And I was gonna rebuild it over the summer, but things turned up and whatnot. Um, and so after Sincere, I started working on Imperial Bin, which is one of my individual projects, which I work on with Hexero, Pixu, as you may know in this community. Um, and so after that, I started really working on web development, just strictly web development, and I've been loving it from every step. And I actually met Alistar, which led me to meet Phineas, Rob, and Ollie, and literally everyone that I know right now through Alistar. And I met him on a GitHub PR. I'm not even joking with this. After this talk, I'll actually send the PR, but it was on the dogs organization, and I made a PR just as a joke. And after that, me and Alistar, we kind of just took off from there. We became friends, which led, like what I said before, led me to everyone else. And fortunately, now I have like a really strong connection with these great people, and I love working with them. So
That's awesome. I mean, I love to hear these great origin stories. I mean, come on, a GitHub PR. That's classic. Um, okay, so what are your guys' like long-term aspirations? You know, best case scenario, Giggl goes well. You guys are, delegating more and more. What do you want to do with your lives?
Um, okay, well, in terms of Giggl, like we do have a few exit strategies. So we've already got offered like a couple times to be acquired by some pretty big names. I won't mention them, but they are pretty big names. And we could have we can take the route now, but we think we want to kind of like build out the infrastructure, get it to like a really solid point. Because we know we can build it to like a pretty big valuation just because of the technology that we're investing in at the moment. So we're gonna do that first, and then possibly look for like a buyout. I don't think we're looking to really go public with it. Like obviously, like I can't really. It's too early to really know, but I think an acquisition makes way more sense because we'll have the technology for another company to use in their pre-existing infrastructure. Like, so it's gonna work out well. But yeah, it's too early to really know in terms of Giggl. After Giggl,
Sure.
though, like we don't know. Like it's just on to the next project. Like we kind of don't think that far in advance. Like it's just like
Yeah.
whatever's next.
I mean, from like a technical aspect, like Finn said earlier, we do hope to build out these like so many POPs across Europe and the United States.
Yeah.
And leverage that, of course. So like right now, The on-prem that we have coming in on April, like the on-premises infrastructure that we have coming in April, that's pretty much like a framework for what those POPs are gonna kind of be built off of,
Yeah.
minus the servers, because we just need the networking stuff. But yeah, basically this is like pretty much a framework for how we're gonna deploy in the future and things like that. So
Yeah,
Okay.
like on network presence is going to be a very big thing. Like it's going to be probably
Yeah,
like the
definitely.
biggest like value that we have. Like
Yeah.
we can sell this network like to like low latency people that need low latency video streams like Twitch and stuff. So that's like
Okay.
a plan that we have to do. So yeah.
Like Finn said,
Yeah.
like Finn put it perfectly. He said that Giggle's more of a networking company than it is consumer social. So that's good to know.
Yeah. So like that
So
the
for
app that
the-
you see at the moment, sorry, the app that you see at the moment on like Giggl.app or whatever, like that is like kind of like putting it pretty. Like it's not really the like this like what we're focusing on. Like we're actually focusing on like the back end and network. That's just like kind of showing off what it can do. But yeah.
Okay. So just for like the non-technical listeners, you mentioned POPs and servers. So like what are those and what do they do and why do they have such a big valuation?
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah. So a POP is just it means point of presence. So in networking, that just means like you put your networking equipment in a data center or like in like a closed data center to the user. And usually POPs are used like in CDN terminology. So CDN is like content delivery networks like Cloudflare. A POP is where they usually serve content from. For us, a POP is more where we capture you onto our network. So if you want to connect to a Giggl portal, then you'll connect to your closest Giggl POP. Say that be London. Say you're connecting to a US East Giggl portal from London. You'll connect to the Giggl London POP, which is going to be like our networking equipment in London. And then we have private fiber directly from London to our data center in Ashburn, which where we can control every step of the way, so we can make sure it's resilient, low latency, everything like that. And then that means that it doesn't go over the public internet, which means that it eliminates latency, stability issues, everything like that. So that's where the value
Interesting.
is. Yeah.
Super interesting. Okay. And Ollie and Cody, what are your long-term goals?
That's a deep question. I don't know. I want to own a Tesla
It is a
one
deep
day.
question.
Okay, so it sounds like a lot of you so far are going for like the sail into the sunset kind of life story.
Yeah, I don't
wait.
know. I don't know.
No.
It's too
Oh,
early to know. I don't
I
know.
thought you were talking about like long-term goals for Giggl. I didn't know you were
Yeah,
talking about personal
same.
long. No, definitely
Oh,
personal long-term goals. I'll definitely. I think I'll definitely create another startup. Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
And are you on the
But-
same page, Cody?
I honestly have no clue. With how things are going, hopefully I can ride on Giggle's back for quite a bit of time because, quite honestly, I absolutely love working with my friends and whatnot. In the future, maybe I will make my own startup. Not sure what that will be, but just just good health and good vibes in the future.
Yep.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, cool. So yeah, let's actually just go like a little deeper into the long-term goals for Giggl actually. If, you guys end up raising, another successful round and the users keep flooding in, would you like what's the kind of situation that you dream of? Like, would you stay in London? Would you go to maybe the west coast of the US? Are you looking at like a,
Yeah.
Twitter HQ type situation where, with thousands of employees? What's the
I mean, we're
what's the
kind of
image?
conflicted on what we want to do in terms of location. Like, firstly, like but the first like issue, the hurdle is the visas. Like, it's annoying and it's hard to get a visa. Like, you have to stay in the UK for like a year to get it. I'm like, it is getting easier, but it's still a hurdle. And that kind of puts friction into our decision making. But we do like I personally, and I know Rob does as well. Like we kind of and also maybe Alistair. I'm not completely sure. We want to move to like West Coast, LA. Ollie wants to move to SF. So we're still like kind of figuring out where we want to move exactly. But yeah, I mean it's like it's kind of like we haven't made the decision yet. It's still gray area. Me and Scott were just talking the other day actually. Scott here or Hyatt. We were talking about like renting a really big like house. Like I don't know if you guys have seen Launch House. We were thinking about like renting a big mansion in LA and then getting like 3 or 4 startups there. And like kind of like they startups would pay to like live there, like Launch House. And it would just be like kind of like good working vibes between Gen Z startups. But yeah, like I don't know, that's kind of gray area. We don't know exactly what we want to do yet, but yeah. And then like if
Awesome.
Giggl gets sold, I definitely wouldn't work at a corporate. Like so if we had an acquisition happen, then I would definitely wouldn't want to work for like a big corporate company unless it was something that I wanted like Discord. But I wouldn't work for
Right,
Twitter,
right.
I don't think. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
another thing that throws a spanner in the works for like the West Coast thing. Well, right now the majority of our employees are based in Europe, so that would also have to be factored into the decision as well. So we're gonna have to see like as time goes on, like where it makes most like sense geographically.
yeah, for sure. And so far, how have you guys been growing? Like, obviously you have a Discord community, which is awesome. So, that kind of promotes word of mouth stuff. But are you going like completely word of mouth based? Are you working with, like marketing agencies? How have you gotten Giggl's user base off the ground?
Yeah.
Remind me like how many monthly active users you're at?
I Rob, do you
42K?
have that number?
It's 42.1K, I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
okay.
Yeah.
But in terms of growth, yeah, so primarily it has just been word of mouth. We paid an influencer on TikTok once, and that TikTok went like semi-viral. I think it had like 1 million views, like 400K likes. And we grew quite significantly from that as well. I don't think that TikTok is still up though. I think their account got suspended. But apart from that, yeah, we've just been doing word of mouth, and things like Twitter has been very good for us. Like occasionally we'll tweet and those tweets will do quite well and we'll see like an influx of users. But I think the thing about Giggl is because primarily it's a use together platform, it's very easy for us just to, for example, give this to, I don't know, 10 people, say tell your friends, and they'll tell their friends and they'll tell their friends. And yeah, so we haven't really spent much money on advertising at all, and it's
Yeah,
been,
and also
yeah, it's
it's
been
not
good.
even just that. Like we would spend more, but it's kind of like a scale thing. Like at the moment, we're kind of limited by the current infrastructure that we have. We're still waiting on our like primary servers to arrive at the data center. Like we've been waiting for ages for that. Like that's the main thing that kind of holds us back from marketing at the moment because we are capped. But once we have our
Okay.
new GPU servers in, we'll be able to like scale pretty big. Like we're gonna do like a whole marketing campaign, pay influencers. But that's in the future. That's once we have the GPU servers in the data center. But yeah,
Yeah, like pretty
that's a big
much
project.
yeah, exactly. So like pretty much most of the time we are actually our capacity. Like complete server capacity. So sometimes users will experience a queue that causes churn. So for like a startup that hasn't done like just word of mouth advertising, like we're doing pretty good in terms of growth. So yeah, like Finn said, once we get our GPU servers in April, we are looking to do like a full on marketing campaign. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 40K monthly active users is insane. For just like word of mouth.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's crazy. Um, just like kind of hearing about Giggle organically, naturally. I almost always hear about it in the context of like I just got back home from school and I want to watch, some TV show with all my friends. Um, that's like when I kind of spot it in the wild, right? Are there certain industries or niches like maybe education or I don't know, company meetings that you guys would envision yourselves kind of targeting in the future, or like who's your target demographic?
Yeah, so this one is, we're still a bit unsure about this. Right now, we're targeting Gen Z and just mainly the consumer space, so watching together. But like I said earlier, we definitely do see people using the platform for other things, such as education. We've seen record labels, for example, use us in team meetings to curate music as well. So there's definitely a business use to it as well. We originally, when we were started to raise, we had a big idea of Giggl just being a B2B platform. We weren't quite sure on what we wanted to do in terms of, are we a consumer platform? Are we business? Eventually, obviously, we decided on consumer, but I think B2B is something that we're going to be targeting in the future. But yeah, right now we're not too sure.
All right. Yeah, that does make sense. And I guess I see now where it wouldn't be kind of like a B2B type model, but I can see it being something that you could change in the future. But yeah. So for the discovery page for portals, I'm assuming that that's just filtered by just public portals, or is there like some other thing that you look for when displaying portals on the discover page?
I I'll take that question. So basically, we have some filters. So when you create a portal, it'll ask you if you want it to be public or portal or private. Sorry, and that is like kind of the main differentiator. However, if your portal gets flagged as NSFW, we will automatically make it as private. However, if the user deems itself as the portal is not NSFW, the user can freely update it to public. Um, we're working on a system to make that like, because there's a gap right there where if a user does make the portal public and it is actually NSFW, I'm working on something that'll limit that gap. Um, but in terms of like NSFW portals, we will close portal like if we find a portal that is strictly NSFW, we won't stay in the portal for very long. We will just completely cut the portal, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah. So like do you have like, I'm assuming you handle like most of the moderation, unless like other like Finn, Ollie and Rob and the others also do some part. But let's say like a portal was just like newly created just like a few minutes ago. How do you stay up to date with like knowing that there's an NSFW portal running?
Right. Okay. So, how we have a couple of systems that take into place there. Like what Phineas said previously, if we check the portals every like 3 minutes to check if the thumbnail that our systems took is deemed as NSFW. That's through the Hive AI entire like system or software that we use. And also, we have a huge list of NSFW portals, or not portals, but links. And if you go to one of those links, it'll instantly flag the portal as NSFW. And by then, we will get a notification, and we can manually view that portal and deem it if, hey, is this NSFW? If it is, let's clip it. If it's public, and if it's private, then we just leave it stay.
Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, it seems like a really easy and like more automatic system that you've put in place. But yeah, very cool. And recently you guys announced Giggl chats. Would you like to explain like more on like why you added chats? And like
Yeah.
some yeah.
Sure. I mean, like obviously we had the code for it. Like that is literally the Hyphen code in Giggl. But yeah, like we kind of wanted to make Giggl like more of a platform like that you could persistently use instead of just like a use it when it's convenient for you. Like we wanted to kind of retain the users like and make their accounts value go up, because before that like people didn't really care about their Giggl account as such. Like the main thing that like kind of made their account have value was like the friendship connections they had. But that's kind of limited, obviously. Like if you have chats on your account, then that could span back for years, and obviously that means you care about your actual Giggl account more. So we kind of wanted to increase the account value and also increase like the persistent use of our platform rather than just like a back burner, like use it when it's convenient type thing. That's the main reason we added it. But yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. And like especially, I guess a lot of people might argue like, why not just use Discord? But like, even if you meet on Giggl, it's good to have communication
Yeah,
later on.
exactly. Yeah, so we're basically kind of using like our portal product as like an acquisition channel to our chat product. So like if people meet on Giggl, then like it's just more convenient for them to use our chat products, like our own chat product rather than Discord because they already have the connection there, and it's convenient and it works well. Pretty much works exactly the same as Discord. So there's no reason to switch unless you're a big Discord user. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. Very cool. We have a bunch of
All
Q&A
right.
questions
I
here.
actually have a very important breaking news segment to interrupt you guys here with. Allegations have arisen from a Giggl employee under the name of Alistair, and it appears like he threatened all of the users on Giggl to delete their accounts. Can you confirm or deny this allegation? And are your users in danger of having their accounts deleted?
Yes.
Probably.
Bro.
Probably.
Okay, every Giggl account is going. Goodbye, guys. That's the end. What the fuck?
Damn, bro, that's so good.
Damn, it
All
was
right,
nice for the
well, we
last
have our
one.
answer. Okay. Thank you for answering that, clarifying that. You can already see Giggle's share price is plummeting. Okay, so Bearcat, if you could go over some of the Q&As, that would be awesome.
Yeah. All right. We have a bunch here, so I'll just start off with how long did it take to reach 100,000 users?
Like 8 months. 8 months. Yeah.
Oh, no, not too bad.
Yeah.
All right. Next one is from Aiden. He asks, so where were you in development/numbers when you decided you needed investment?
Oh, this is actually a good one because yeah. So like Finn said, we were running off of his credits and on GCP, and egress is so expensive. So we were burning probably like at least 2 times of what we were burning right now on servers. Right? Actually, no, it's probably around the same because obviously we've grown, so it's around the
Yeah.
same. But egress is so expensive at GCP. But we were like 1 month away from like no credits at all. Like so we faced like a 8K bill that me and Ollie we didn't have like a lot of money at the time. So yeah, we were like a matter of weeks away from probably like sunsetting the project until we had money. So we knew we had to raise money pretty early on. It got more serious towards like September 2020, and then September 2020. That's when we actually really started focusing on it because we knew if we didn't get it by December, January, we would be like completely gone. We'd have to sunset the project.
Yeah. To clarify though, like we were at I think 12K users when we started like talking to YC and stuff.
Yeah,
Around then?
it was around that definitely. And we had YC in early December, and then we had launch around mid-December, and we got accepted around early January. So that's where we were in terms of development, like very very close to sunsetting it. But yeah, in terms of Finn clarified on amount of users that we had.
All right. All right. So the next question is, how did the funding money get spent? How did you prioritize it? And I just guess like just to summarize it, money management with the funding.
Okay, so we knew that we were gonna initially when we raised, we were gonna dedicate 1/3 of our funding to server equipment. That's kind of gone down a bit because we knew we had to spend a lot on salaries, the rent for this place, among like other like random networking and server things. So I think we had to be honest. I think if I look back on it, like we have spent around 1/3 of our money on networking equipment and servers. But like the rest is salaries. We haven't like completely projected how we're gonna spend each like dollar. But we kind of have like a vision of like the ratio of how much we're gonna spend to what category. But yeah, it's mostly on servers, salaries, and rent.
All right. Yeah, it makes sense. The next question here is Giggl profitable? And if not, when do you suppose it will be? And I guess that also brings, do you guys plan to release Giggl Plus to the public anytime soon?
Okay, so we're not profitable at all. We're burning loads of money. We're not making any money. We're burning like I think 150 to 200K a month. at the moment. Maybe a bit less than that, but like around that. Um, I don't know if we will ever be profitable. That's like a pretty big thing to say in startups, but like we might get acquired before we actually become profitable. Because of how expensive it is to run something like this. But like as you know, like Netflix isn't profitable, Uber isn't profitable, Amazon wasn't profitable for 25 years. So it's not like a rare thing to see. We do have to spend a lot to make this product work. And if that's what we have to do, then so be it.
All right, yeah, makes sense. And I don't know if you can answer this or not, but how much is approximately how much of the seed money is left?
About half of it.
All right. Okay, so for the next question, how do you plan to expand Giggl, I'm assuming, and what motivates you the most?
Ollie?
Yeah, when you say expand, do you mean like on different platforms or?
Yeah, I'm assuming that means like expand to other platforms like Android or like TV platforms or just like growth in general.
You think I
Oh,
should
okay.
take
I'll let
that?
Cody take that. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, right now, my when I first came onto the developer team for Giggl, I was mainly focusing on Android, but then, as time progressed, I started focusing on the entirety of Giggl Mobile. Um, and so right now, my main focus is Android since we already have iOS out and it's in a nice production form. Um, but after I am done with Android and smoothing that experience out, I am going to be getting into TV development and bringing Giggl as an app to Apple TV and Android TV / Google TV, and we also have um, very light plans. Like it's just been briefly talked about. We have like plans for like VR Giggl and like bringing like I guess the metaverse in quotation marks to the Giggl platform. But
Whoa.
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Um, and yeah, right now you have your iOS app, so it will be exciting to see it being released to more platforms, and that also brings more users. So yeah,
Yeah, that's actually really exciting.
yeah. Um, the next question or questions is from Owl, and they ask how and why do you think Giggl will able to cope and still exist in the future? And I'm assuming this also is relatable to the pandemic because a bunch of people are using Giggl now due to pandemic issues. So afterwards, what do you guys plan to keep Giggl still alive?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Sorry, wait, do you want to?
No,
I
you
can
can
go.
go.
Um, yeah, so I think one of the interesting things about Giggl and the way we've grown is, I mean, I think it's controversial, but I'm going to say we're probably post-pandemic at this point. Like, COVID's still there, but it's not as big as an issue as it was in 2020, for example. But we've been growing more in like the past month, for example, than like we've grown like during COVID. And it's for a multitude of use cases, but one of the big things we're actually seeing is people do use us a lot in school, specifically because I don't know, for example, like their school network blocks a specific website, or they want to watch a movie in class with their friends. Which I mean, I'm not gonna say you should do that. You should get your education. I mean, I'm not one to talk, but if they want to use the platform for that, then go ahead. That's a use case. But yeah, so growth wise, I think I can definitely see us still growing because Rabbit, a platform that I mentioned earlier, that used to exist. Obviously, that was way before COVID, and they had a good few million monthly active users because there are people being at home could be for reasons not related to COVID. They could be long distance partners. They could just be at home over Discord. Like a lot of my friends are, international, and sometimes I just want to hang out with them online. But
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. And there's a question, I guess, to add on to that. There have been a lot of Giga alternatives in the past and current, like Rabbit, Hyperbeam, and especially like things like Discord VC activities being released. Does Google plan to do something similar, or how does it compare to other things like, not Rabbit, but like things like Hyperbeam?
That's a good question.
Wait, similar to what?
What do you mean? Like
like it's similar in terms of like I guess differences that's a better question. What Hyperbeam does and what Giggl does.
I mean, like we do similar things for sure. Like we're just trying to we're competitors, so we're trying to make the best experience out of what we have. I mean, like we're more focusing on the networking side, which I think long term is what we really need to do to make this like a big thing and make it reliable, cost effective, and everything. So I think us investing in that early on is going to pay off. I also think like even if you don't see the consumer app for Giggl in the future, like if we decide to close it down for whatever reason, like Giggl as a company is still going to live on for like what we do on the back end. Like because that's going to be sold to other companies, or, like our back end technology. So because of how valuable it is, like a lot of companies want this, and you know, it really takes like a team to do it, like a dedicated team on the thing. So we have
Yeah.
the perfect product as well. Like we have the perfect product to like kind of test it out, test the waters with our network, and like you know kind of simulate how we want it to work. So yeah,
All right, yeah, makes sense. And I don't know if you guys have seen Discord activities, like what they've been working
yeah, we've
on.
seen it.
Yeah, do you think that Giggl would be doing I know it's like a browser where you could like search for practically anything, but
Yeah,
have you guys been out there thinking about doing like some built-in games with Giggl, something like maybe like a whiteboard or something like even
whiteboard,
bots?
yes. Games we've thought about it, but like it's not really a priority at the moment because that does take a lot of effort. Like we'd have to hire a lot to do that. Like if we wanted to like make high quality games in Giggl, like the browser really does offer a lot to people that can actually use it. I think just the main issue at the moment is that not everyone can use Giggl to its full capacity because of like the issues with the public internet, you know, issues with like their internet, you know, like there's just so many things that go into like making a user use Giggl correctly, like making sure that their speed is correct, making sure that they have good latency to us. So we're just focusing on that first. And then once we know that like every user has a good experience, then we can focus on like other things. But we just want to focus on the browser and the actual Giggl video platform first.
Yeah, it makes sense. And yeah, that is exciting. All right. So for the next question, from Vert, they asked, "How did you manage the administration side of the company?"
I
Um,
do.
what book? I mean, I'm trying to. What did they mean by that? Like that's
Like
how did we
bookkeeping,
incorporate?
Fondo.
Like
I mean, like for
Uh,
our accounting, we use Fondo,
yeah,
Fondo.com.
I mean, I don't know. We I'm not,
For
I'm
our
not really
yeah,
management, we
sure.
use Mercury.
Yeah, like
For our
yeah.
cap table, we use Pulley. That's it. Like, we don't really do much administration. Like, we
Yeah,
just
We
like
because it
actually
sort
gets
no.
of help
I,
people.
I actually no. I do have an answer for this. Um, I personally I use Notion for a lot of the side of Giggl. So for things like bookkeeping, keeping track of company documents, things like that, and I would highly recommend Notion to anyone who hasn't used it before.
yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. And that brings me to the next question. Actually, are there any members of the co-founding team that are non-technical and manage things like the business side?
No.
No.
no,
Tony
not at the
used to
moment.
be.
We did.
Tony used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
Oh, yeah, I see. All right. The next question here is, do you ever get mixed up between Ollie and Ali?
No.
Yeah.
No.
No.
All right. The next question is, where's Giggl hosted?
Okay, in the
Oh,
US, we
DC.
currently use DC10. It's a Equinix data center in Ashburn. It's one of their newer ones, part of the Ashburn campus. It's been serving us well. We're putting our GPU servers there in a month or
April.
so. Yeah,
Yeah.
April. And then in the EU, we use a mix of OVH, and we're gonna migrate it to an Equinix data center soon. But yeah.
Yeah.
All
It's
right.
in London.
Oh yeah, and then sorry, and then for the actual like backend real time infrastructure, like everything that is like part or like what you see on the actual Giggl website, that is Google Cloud. But like the actual portal infrastructure, that's on like our own thing, our own network. So yeah.
Yeah, I see. All right. So for the next question, it's any plans for a desktop application?
Maybe in the future, yeah, because there's this encoding type H265. that we would like to take advantage of, but the problem is it's not supported by all browsers. Like Chrome doesn't support it. But if we did like port users over to a desktop app, we could support it. That's like the only reason I see us considering it, because I mean, like, also we could improve like voice and video experience too. So it's definitely something that we're going to consider down the line. We did have a desktop app, but we sunsetted it. It had some issues on Mac. But yeah, I hope that answers that. We're going to consider it probably in a few months.
Yeah, that's cool.
Right now we're working on like an encoding engine, like our own in-house encoding engine to lower the cost. So we're going to experiment with different codecs and things like that. So yeah.
All right. So we're almost done with the Q&A, but the next question is: do you have any other plans besides Giggl as of now? Something that you plan or already have after Giggl?
No, I'm all
Not
in on
possibly,
Giggl
no.
personally.
Yeah.
All right. Next question is: what's the enterprise angle for Giggl? Is Mighty's browser mission a realistic future?
Enterprise angle would be probably just like selling our network capacity to other companies, like I said before. So selling our network presence to Twitch, or other like companies that need low latency video. That's probably our B2B angle. And then do we think Mighty's browsers are mission? No, I think Mighty is trying to do too much, in my opinion. I think Suhail's a great founder. But in my opinion, like Mighty is gonna have so many issues just due to the current state of the internet and like how many things can go wrong on like the internet connection on the trip to like the server. That I don't think it's gonna work that well. Maybe in like 10 years we'll solve those things in the internet, but like the internet's still in its infancy, in my opinion. Like there's still so many things that can go wrong. Like you have to remember, like it is literally light going through tubes at the end of the day. So there is things that can go wrong, and things that can slow down and make the connection unreliable. So I think Mighty's trying to strive too high. They're trying to push way too, like obviously Giggl, like we're doing the same thing, but we're trying to do it as like a lower latency, like, and we're kind of pushing towards watch parties. Like we're not advertising to use it as your main browser. And I also think they're trying to charge $50 a month or $30 a month or whatever, which doesn't really make sense considering you could just buy an M1 MacBook Pro and get
Yeah.
the pretty much the exact same performance, and you don't have to pay monthly. Like it's like a one-time investment. So personally, I don't believe in Mighty, but I think Suhail's a great founder. So I'm sure they'll pivot into something that will make sense.
Yeah, I also don't have an opinion on Mighty. Well, no, Finn does have an opinion on Mighty, but I haven't really formed one because there's a lot of people bullish on the product. So maybe there's something like a lot of really big people like Paul Graham. So maybe this is something that they see that I just don't.
The
So
thing is,
I'm
I
not
think about
really-
that though, like I would be bullish on the product if it wasn't for like my knowledge of the internet and like how Giggles experience the
Yeah,
internet.
true. Yeah, that's a good.
Like,
point.
and I don't think these like investors really understand how it works and how like the internet can really be a bottleneck for them. Like obviously we
Yeah.
do understand that because we have experienced it firsthand.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, I think that they're gonna run into issues for sure.
Yeah,
but yeah,
we've actually spoken with the Mighty team before in Suhail. We had like similar networking issues back in the like early days, so we've had a few meetings with them, and we've been following closely like what they're doing because their infrastructure is pretty much one-to-one with ours. They're co-locating. They're ordering GPUs. They're gonna face the problems that we do in terms of chip shortages, things like that. So the tech is like very similar. But yeah, in terms of the product, they definitely do have like a challenge on their hands with the networking side of it. So yeah.
Right. Next question is from. Oh, I'll just say the next question is: what's your opinion on incorporating Web3 technologies into Giggl?
bro. Fuck
That's
Web3.
No. No.
Bro, we're
It's
not
just
implementing Web3. At
yeah,
least, yeah.
nah. It's definitely not like we're personally all I'm not sure Web3 completely. Like there's definitely some good use cases.
Yeah.
We have some friends, Luke and Michael, and they're developing like a pretty cool NFT project based on keyboards. So you can like burn a keyboard and mint one and things like that, and you'll actually get a physical keyboard based on what you do. So there's really good use cases like that, but generally we are all kind of bearish on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely no way you're gonna see like some kind of Giggl token or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
No.
for sure.
But yeah, like Ollie said, maybe some metaverse thing, Horizon or something. So yeah,
Yeah.
we have to wait and see.
Like maybe maybe we'd implement like ETH login if that actually becomes a standard in the future. Like, because that is I think like
Yeah.
having like one identity for the whole internet is a really cool thing. That's like one thing that I think I'm bullish on ETH for.
Yeah,
But like in
definitely.
terms of
Yeah.
NFTs and tokens, like you're not gonna see that on Giggl. Just purely to
Mhm,
do with
yeah.
like the current market and the
Just the
current like,
cost.
and the gas prices. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Costing to mint is just insane. So it just doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense for people that use our product.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it makes sense. And yeah, the next question is from Ali. He asks, "Can we give away some Giggl Nano stickers?"
Yeah.
It's just effort to ship them out low key, but we could.
You know,
Yeah.
honestly, yes, that's actually a good idea, and I will be the one to ship them if you guys don't want to, because I think we
So
have
you'll
too
go to the
many
post
stickers.
office every day, bro.
Bro, I've been to the post office before. I know how I get it.
Alright, bro.
I
But
distribute
we
them
have
through my high school as well.
Okay, we can order more, yeah. Oh, we also need to do, bro. This is such a stupid investment, but we need to get a nano plushie, bro. We need to get a nano plushie.
yeah, nano plushies.
Yeah, the only
those
problem
would
with
be
that is like it's like 25k up front. So
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
exactly.
All right. The last question is from Funny. He asks, "What's your retention and churn rate?"
Retention.
Yeah, week on week it's 25%. Churn rate churn rate varies because we have two types of users. We have users that actually signed up and temp users. So the way we track, we have like a whole thing for investors on how we track like churn with temp users. Like churn is very complicated for our Giggl because of the type of users that we have. Temp users are like a really big one. So those are users that don't actually sign up for the product, but they would join a portal via a link and just temporarily enter like a display name. But their actions are limited. Like for example, they cannot chat or they can't create a portal. So like there's different types of churn is kind of complicated for us. Like we have numbers and things like what percentage of temp users turn into real users. So yeah, it's a bit of a detailed question, or it would require detailed answer. I mean.
Yeah. And I can see that. And I do understand that the retention of actual users and also temporary users, which a lot of people might choose since that's an option, instead of making accounts, that can also be a really high percentage. But yeah, that pretty much covers it for the Q&A and questions that I have. So I guess that concludes today's talk. So thank you to the Giggl team and the entire audience for coming.
Thanks for
And
having us, yeah.
Yeah, thanks,
Yeah.
thank you for having us all.
Yeah, thank you guys. Hopefully, like 1-2 years down the line, we can have another talk and you can tell us about how perfectly Giggl went and how you exited and you are
Let's
working on
hope,
your next
yeah.
cool thing.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
All right.
Living on the beach, perhaps.
Hell yeah.
For sure.
All right. Thank you. Make sure to check out Giggl, guys, if you haven't already. It's just giggl.app, Giggl. And yeah, see you in the next one.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.